friends, Jewel back with another super cool astrology video, and I thought we would focus on the connection when we have somebody's moon coming into another person's 12th house. What happens when we see this going on in Synastry? So the moon is somebody's emotional nature, their emotional patterns, their habits, how they feel satisfied. Really represents the mother principle and what makes us feel nurtured, cared for, and how we care for others, and the unconscious emotional responses within ourselves. And so when that's coming into another person's 12th house, well, what is the 12th house? That is the house of the collective unconscious, the house of our fears, the house of our worries, the house of our, some call it the self-undoing, because it's really how we get in our own way in a way that we don't understand that. The house of our sorrows, service, selfless service, and where we go to escape. And so when we have somebody's emotional nature meeting somebody else in the place that they are often sorrowful, the place that they are often experiencing lack, a place where they are hidden, a place where they don't really understand themselves, this is kind of a difficult connection to see in Synastry. Now, it doesn't mean that it's, something that's going to keep a relationship from forming, but it does have some issues with the two people being able to make an emotional connection that is healthy. So on the one hand, it's a very sensitizing connection because there's always positives and negatives to every aspect, good and bad aspects. They all have their pluses and their minuses. Even, squares offer great things. So when we have this one, it's very much like somebody's moon conjunct another person's Neptune. It's a little bit more gritty. So the moon person can often have the experience of meeting the 12th house person emotionally, where the 12th house person is unsatisfied or seeking or sad. They can also be meeting them in a place where they're very spiritual, where they're very sensitive, where they're very caring, where they're very giving. So it has a double-edged experience, as every placement does. So it can be wearing this placement on the moon person because they can frequently experience the house person in the place in their life or in their personality or their persona where the house person is more negative or more wanting or lacking or wishing. So it can be difficult to deal with somebody on an everyday basis or an ongoing basis where they are not positive. So it can be a position where the moon person can often feel kind of like a dumping ground for the 12th house person, or can almost want to say, just, get up and, try again, or, do something more, because there's, they want to be a support to the 12th house person. They emotionally want to support the things of the 12th house. It's where they're connecting with them. But on the other hand, it can be an ongoing place of stress for the moon person to be that constant support. So it's really important, if you have this connection, it is very much going to be on the house person, the 12th house person, to pay attention to how they are emotionally reacting and connecting with the moon person. So they are not this ball of unmet needs or sadness or depression, or, they need to be more conscious of how they're relating to the moon, how the moon person feels, how the moon person is being offered the connection to them. It's through their house of the unconscious. So they need to become more conscious. Anything in the 12th house is somewhat hidden from us, or is somewhat of a mystery. So, you know, the moon person does find the house person to be a bit of a mystery, or to be sometimes a bit of a black hole, depending on who the 12th house person is. If they're very prone to depression, if they're very prone to sadness, if they're very prone to, you know, a sense of disappointment, that this is going to be much more stressful for the moon person to deal with. Rather than somebody who's just primarily oriented very positive. So it's important for the house person to really become more conscious about the experience of the moon person, so that they can somewhat not rely on or be such I would say almost it's not really a liability, it's a drag. You don't want them to be a drag on the moon person, because this can be a very, very good combination if it doesn't get out of hand, where the moon person is doing, you know, is like nursing the house person. We don't want it to get to that, because then the moon person tends to back away because they feel like they never get a day off, or there's nothing positive, or they're being sucked into a black hole. So it's imperative that they both relate to each other in a way that is consciously positive. And this can be a very spiritual connection. This can be a very sensitive connection, where these two have a bond that is very much based on the moon person very much accessing, being able to understand the wants, the needs, the hurts, the wishes, the expectations of the house person. There's a beautiful connection here that can be very spiritual and can have a very psychic link to it, where these two people have a way of communicating that is, you know, almost you know, higher than the earth plane that we normally are used to communicating on. There's a very intuitive connection here. So that's what we want to see, the positives of this one coming out between two people. And when I see this one in Synastry, that's what I try to focus on, is you know, how we can relate to each other in a way that is healthy and positive on an ongoing basis, and really kind of avoid the difficulties associated with this aspect. So I hope you found this informative and helpful. If you did, please subscribe to my channel if you've not done so. It's right there at the bottom, or you can go to my page and find it and subscribe. It's so easy. You can find me on Facebook at Truth and Aspect Astrology, where I do the daily weather forecasting, birthday descriptions. I specialize in relationship and intimacy astrology, as well as asteroids and planetoids. You can find my relationships and articles related to that over there. And you can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com. And I will be back super soon with more super cool videos. Bye-bye.